And of course, I forgot my water. I think today my internet's working a little better. I hope. Um, so, my topic, I don't like my hair back like that. I like it to have front. My topic is politics and bipolar disorder. Not that it really specifically has anything to do with bipolar disorder. And I mean, I guess it could if you were manic and I don't know, could you overdo politics, get too involved, get too hyped up? You could probably spend too much money on donating it to certain um, people, the people who are running their. I'm sorry, I'm in a really bad. I feel good, but my brain's not working real well today. Uh, can't remember stuff. Um, I guess you could, if you were manic, you could donate all your money to, you know, some one of the candidates. Um, and if you were depressed enough, you maybe wouldn't vote. No, but what I'm talking about is the the I have a lot of reasons for going the direction I'm going in. Um, but personally, me as a person, personally, I have a concern about health care. Um, you know, some of these medications we take are expensive, and there are people who are not taking what they need to take. They may be taking something else that really isn't doing the job, but they can't afford, the medication that you need. And I think that pharmaceutical companies are evil, greedy, just horrible. If you work for one and you know what you're doing in that company, in that um, field, you know, those pharmaceutical reps, I mean, you should feel shitty when you look in the mirror. I mean, really. Um, and I really identify with people who have, say, diabetes. Insulin costs a lot of money, a bottle of insulin. And but I don't think we get the mental health, the psychiatric disorders. I don't think we get we aren't represented as much as forward. People talk all about how much uh, their insulin because they have diabetes, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but have you ever heard someone talk about um, going to get a psychiatric medication and it costing too much and walking away? I've never heard anyone say it. I've heard people use, politicians and stuff use people, um, who have diabetes to talk about how they can't afford their insulin, people who have kids who have peanut allergies that can't afford their EpiPen. But I've never, ever, ever heard anyone say, my son is schizophrenic and he needs this antipsychotic. And even though we have insurance, it still costs us $400, $500 a month. Um, Way back when, before about 10 years ago, when I was on first started on Seroquel, especially XR, I literally would pay. I had insurance, I had Medicare through, my disability, and so I had pharmacy, I had pharmacological, had insurance for my medication, but my part was still 4 to 5 plus 100. And I've never heard anyone, no politician, nobody say anywhere uh, about a psychiatric condition. And um, when I look at, I get this monthly overview about that tells me how much I paid and how much they paid. And some of these medications are costing well over $1,000 a month. Now, there's something wrong with that. There's something very, very wrong with that. And they say it goes to research, but I'm sorry, France and Germany and Canada and the UK seem to be doing okay with their research and not, putting this high number on medication that people need. It's cruel. I mean, it is. Um, and the fact that we still have a long ways to go. Because when you hear people talking healthcare on at protests and town halls and blah blah blah, they're not talking about us. They're not talking about bipolar, depression, schizophrenia. They're not talking about us. And it's we're no different than bipolar is a medical condition. It is biological. You can see it on a PET scan. Someone who's manic, the brain, it looks very different. It's a lot redder. It looks very different than someone who's not. And the same goes with depression. You can see it. And we even know what neurotransmitters are screwing up. And yet we're still divided from the medical community. We're still something else. You know, um, I haven't had to be in the hospital in quite some time, so I don't know if it is still this way. But I remember when I would have my insurance card, uh, and it was for medical stuff. But if you needed treatment for a psychiatric condition, you had to look at the back of your card and find a special number and call that special number to see if you were going to be, you had to go through all this red tape to see if they were going to pay for your stay or get it okayed before you couldn't go in the hospital until you got it okayed. Now, what other chronic illnesses treat people that way? I mean, are treated that way. You know, someone with emphysema, they're not going to say, well, if you want us to pay for your stay in the hospital, I know you can't breathe and your O2 sets in the 80s. You need to call this number and be approved first before you go in the hospital. No, you don't hear that. It's I feel that we're very left out. And the biological thing is, did you know that Parkinson's symptoms are partly due to a lack of dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter, certain one, and schizophrenia is the result of having too much dopamine in your brain floating around. So you're talking about the same neurotransmitter. It's just that when you have too little, you have these movement problems and sometimes dementia that goes with it. If you have too much, you hear and see things. But we're still going to keep them separate and treat them separately. I don't think that people consider psychiatric disorders and conditions as true, acknowledged, respected chronic illnesses. And some of us can work around the disorder, what is happening to them biologically, medically. Some people have it so severe they cannot and are on disability. I think it's hard for anyone to get on disability, but I think it's doubly hard for people with a psychiatric disorder to get on disability. And I lost my train of thought. Anyway, I just don't like this being considered separate. And when I know for a fact it has, I remember. And some of us, like me, for instance, I had the disorder. I managed to get through nursing school, did very well. I was insane the entire time. But we didn't know I had it, even though now we know I definitely had the symptoms. And then and I worked as a nurse for about 9-10 years. And then I had been misdiagnosed with depression and was given Zoloft, a lot of Zoloft. And it turns out I was actually had bipolar disorder, and that Zoloft put me in a tailspin. that it took a long time to get out of. Oh, it was awful. It was awful. um, and so then there was this long period that I could not work. I got so bad with anxiety and the bipolar. And then after that, I got to a point where I had a lot of coping skills and a lot of support, and I was able to work. And I did so for like, I volunteered for 2 years, and I think I was paid 7 to 8 part time. And I actually would end up working full time, but anyway, I did. The point is in my instance, and I'm sure in other people's instances, that there were periods where we were okay and were coping and could work, and then there would come a time where we couldn't anymore, and 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 the condition didn't go away. It was still there. It's just managed, and like for me, um it changed. And just like your body changes and your brain, as you get older, your brain's part of your body, and so there are going to be changes. And so my bipolar disorder now does not look like my bipolar disorder from the past. um how I'm getting there from politics is just my point is that, first of all, healthcare in general is is greedy, and um, pharmaceutical companies specifically greedy, and that is inhumane and that is cruel. And I don't know how some of those executives, and even further down the line, and even look at themselves in the mirror. um, I have a good pharmacy story. Um, I needed, we were, I was having a weird type of anxiety. I wasn't really certain if it was anxiety related or bipolar related. It was like a general not at ease feeling, and it was specific time of day. And I know I talked about this before because Eric told me something about Xanax wearing off. But anyway, we were thinking maybe Xanax wasn't what I needed anymore. Maybe I needed something longer lasting. So I tried Klonopin, and I, I reacted kind of poorly with that. So we tried Xanax extended release, and it stayed in my system for like 16 hours. And for 2 hours after I took it, I was high, like, woo, like really lightheaded and stuff. And I don't like that feeling. That's a very uncomfortable feeling for me. And so, but what ended up happening, well, anyway, okay, so I go to get the Xanax XR from the pharmacy. I've never had it before. I go, and the pharmacist is like, because like they went and got the pharmacist, so I knew something was up. And she said, you know, your insurance doesn't cover this medication. And she said, I said, well, how much would it be for me to just pay for it? And she was like, she got this look on her face like, she felt really bad for me. Um, she said 125, and my first reaction was, well, I've paid a lot, so that's no big deal. But my situation had changed. I was no longer working part time. And so now $125 was something I needed to consider. And she said, well, I only have a few right now. I'll give you those few. You don't have to pay for them now. I'll give them to you. And I will look up and try to find you some coupon or um, discount or something. And so I go in the next day. And so she gives me like four. And I kind of suspected that maybe that maybe she just gave me a few and had more, but gave me a few. And then um, the next day she said, okay, well, yeah, I got this and I found a coupon or something and it's only $20. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. Thank you. So Trudy is like one of my favorite people now. She's she's a great pharmacist, and it turns out that I don't need to, it's not something I'm going to need every day. We're saving it for super mixed feature things, saying horrible things, um, those sort of episodes. And I am back on my usual two regular Xanax point 0.5 at bedtime just to get my head from spinning. And I have not been feeling that weird uneasiness in the evening anymore. I don't know. My nurse practitioner, XXR, I took it like um, settled things for me. It was enough to just help me turn the corner. So there is my um, pharmacy story. And I'm wondering what really went down with her in the medication because I've never had a pharmacist do that for me. Um, it, so that's pretty cool and all. Um, but people shouldn't have to do that for, especially if it's medication like an antipsychotic or something the doctor is saying you need to be on this. So that is why I am super involved in politics, um, because that I have that one problem, and I have other things that I'm interested in too, but I'm really excited about the debate. I'm really curious about how this is going to go. Um, so I just had one other thing to say that happened to me today. I was um, I was out and about running errands today, and I saw something, and I took a picture of it, and I wanted to send it to my mother because she would have appreciated it. And I stood there and I'm staring at my phone, and I forgot how to text my brain how to text. I'm staring at my phone and I'm like, okay, I recognize this one is for phone calls, this one's for email, this one is for, but I know there's a little icon, a little app for texting, but I can't remember what it is. So I sat there for like 10 minutes wondering what was going on. I like, oh my God, is this Alzheimer's? Because this is worse than some of the other things. But here's what happened. And it's the whole ECT brain damage thing. Somehow the icon for my texting got moved over to like 3 screens. Like somehow it got over there instead of in my little line that I first see. And because I did not see it there when I looked, I couldn't figure out what I was even looking for to search for. And it was very disconcerting because I'm like staring at these buttons trying to figure, okay, now I can figure some of these out. None of these are, I know aren't the ones I use to text. And if I can't see it, it doesn't exist. That's it. That is how I live life. I have like, I'm getting a better one, but this watch, I have to have a watch that has the day of the week, the date, and the time in military time. Or I'll be walking around thinking it's a whole different month, and I look at my watch, but I have to get a new one because this one is pretty cheap. It just like randomly goes to a different time and date. So I went and splurged and got not a Garmin, Fitbit one that has the day of the week and the date and stuff. So that was kind of like really weird, but a perfect example of like staring at something and not being able to. I know what I want to do, but I don't see how to accomplish it here. It should be here. TikToks. I think they're fun and you can be creative, and I do them more for myself than anything. But I do TikToks where I have paper and I've written stuff on the paper and I move the paper. And you read to music what I'm saying. And I prefer doing that because when I try to talk on TikToks, it's hard for me. You have 60 seconds and I have to pause so much to think about like that. What I had intended to say, it doesn't compute very well. I'm doing really good today. I'm like one step in hypomania and one step in normal. Earlier I definitely was hypo, but so I'm a little bit sharper and the thoughts are coming a little bit clearer. And so this is like the state I enjoy the most. Going to any further ahead, I don't like it because I get disorganized. I have a bunch of energy, but I can't organize it. And my I don't think I have much normal mood anymore. I seem to be just like floating through that empty, sluggish, blank depression, irritability, mania, hypo or pure mania. I just seem to be flipping through those like cards and no, I forgot what normal was. Um, so um, I'm trying to just, I'm, I know that I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. So I guess this is my new normal. Um, it's unpleasant. You know, I know that people do this who have bipolar disorder, and I do it too. I have projects that will sit, and I know, okay, I'm going to let that sit there because the next mania that comes along, I'm going to be all over it, get it done. Lots of creativity and ideas and innovation. And um, and then I know that after that, it's going to be numbness and I can't move and I don't care. And nobody likes me anyway and why bother, and I guess you just have to grab those moments of when you can be productive and just that's what I think people really don't have a hard time understanding is how productive you can be changing so much around what your mood is. You know, like if you're manic and you're not so manic, you're disorganized and you're getting stuff done, someone might just think you're a really productive person. And then when you go into a depression, they're going to wonder what the hell's wrong with you. And or you're this great guy and you hit a mixed features, and next thing you know, you're yelling at people and being a jerk, uh, um, or an asshole, and trying to clean that mess up when that goes by. Sometimes I question myself. Who am I? Which one of those Megans is me? Am I more than these moods? Are these moods me, or one of them is me? Is, you know, it's kind of an identity crisis type thing. Um, I'm having that right now because of the amount of time I'm spending in abnormal moods, as opposed to how I used to have long periods of normal, appropriate reaction moods. And then I would feel like just an flux of productivity and whatnot. And then just a few days of bummed out. And it would be, you know, now before that, I was mania, psychotic, depressed, suicidal. But that was before I had the right medication. So I am told, I keep forgetting to ask, that there is a new medication. I think it's a new antipsychotic, uh, atypical, um, specifically directed towards mixed episodes. But Medicare doesn't cover it. But I have decided since yesterday that I'm going to be proactive, and I am going to, first of all, call my nurse practitioner and find out the name. Excuse me. And then I'm going to call the insurance company and uh, try to figure out, because I know for a fact that there were other medications in my past that I was supposed to take, and my insurance wouldn't cover it. And so that doctor, that psychiatrist that I was seeing then, would contact the insurance company and send them a letter saying that I had to have that. And they would indeed cover it, but it would be really expensive. Um, so I need to be proactive. That's very important. Very, very important. Be proactive. Take care of yourself. You go see your therapist, you go see your doctor. Make sure you do your own homework and pay attention to your own body and mind. Um, very close attention. Do what you're supposed to do as much as you can, so nobody has an excuse to say you're poorly controlled bipolar disorder. I hear that on TV a lot when somebody gets in trouble or something. Um, keep a list of medications you're on, medications you've tried, what happened, why you stopped taking them. Um, anything you can do, be proactive. And if you just get a bad vibe, or you don't like, you feel like there are a lot of psychiatrists up there, and this might not be the right thing to say, but I have fired a good number of psychiatrists after the first visit, because um, the vibe was, we're not, this is not where I'm going. All my doctors are female. It has to do with the communication style. Men may prefer males or females. It's whatever is your deal. You have to feel like you're a team with your doctor and your therapist and in your family. It's not this whole doctor thing that they tell you what to do. You have to be a team. I like it when I see a psychiatric nurse practitioner, because I had been seeing a female psychiatrist, but in that group, she wanted to go and do inpatient, and I had to see a male just to get my refills, and and they were like, well, if you want to stick with us, here's your options, and I said, it's got to be female. And so that's how I ended up with a nurse practitioner. And your doctor has to trust. If you feel like your doctor does not trust you, then it's not going to work. If they trust you to take care of yourself, keep records, and be on top of things, if they can trust you to do the right things, they're more likely to work with you. Otherwise, I've had psychiatrists that got frustrated with me because I wasn't getting better, like it was my fault. I had this one just get like really angry with me. I'm like, dude, it's not my fault. I have no control, you know, of my neurotransmitters. I mean, I can do stuff, but if I'm still depressed, I'm still depressed. You can't get angry at me. And I went to this one and I went in and she had papers everywhere. They were on the floor, on the desk, stacks and stacks. And there was this other person there doing something. And she said that she was, oh, excuse the mess. My assistant just quit without warning or something like that. And that was like the first and last visit there. I went to a psychiatrist where um, this was when I was still a nurse, and I went to his office, and everything was pristine. It was like this in this uppity neighborhood, and everything was too new, too pristine, too OCD, rigid. I mean, I could tell by just the furniture. And so I was like, yeah, we're not going to click. So I have over the years settled on it's got to be female. And you have to know that what I'm telling you is what's going on, that this is not working. This works for that problem. I don't, my goal is to this, it, but like I said, you have to be proactive. If they feel like, if anyone, therapist or a psychiatrist, if they feel like you're doing nothing to help yourself, they're going to get real tired handling your case because you're going to have the same problems and they're going to be telling you the same things. Well, have you been going to your therapist? Have you been doing your things that you can do for yourself? So I don't know how I got way over on that, but I think it's still hand in hand with we go see somebody goes, this is healthcare here. You go to a doctor with a problem, and let's say you have these symptoms, and your doctor says, you might be diabetic, and they send you to an endocrinologist. Or you go in with stomach symptoms, and they send you to a gastroenterologist. Well, we come in with these symptoms. We have physical and mental brain symptoms, and we have our specialist, a psychiatrist, and that's who we're sent to. Why are we right at that moment separated from the medical community? It should just be a continuation, continued, but it isn't. So even when the people with diabetes and heart problems and lung problems and autoimmune disorders, when they start getting their health care, we're going to be behind in line at the end of the line. We're going to be at the end of the line. Our time's going to come later. And it better come while I'm still alive, or I'm going to be angry. I'm going to be an angry old lady with bipolar disorder. So I'm going to go now because the debate's going to be coming on here in a little while, and I'm absolutely starving, so I need to eat. and watch the debate. So, yeah, I hope this was better reception than last time. I do have a microphone coming from eBay, so I'm excited about that because I don't like wearing this here. For some reason, I feel confined. They're kind of claustrophobic. They're so big. My head's little. I have to wear children's glasses. So, okay, so I'm gonna go, and you all take care, and hopefully I will be talking to you soon. Bye.